Let's talk about reading music. Um, it's one of those things that a lot of times a player will have a question is should I learn to read music? And yeah, you should. It's a good thing to know how to do, and in fact, it opens up a lot of different things, different um, exercises, different information that you would otherwise not have access to if you don't know how to read music. Myself, I'm not that great of a reader, and probably the thing that I struggle most with is reading time or reading rhythm. I should say that's the thing that I struggle with the most. But I've not really had a whole lot of call to read music. I can only think of one time when I was in a situation where I had to read music, and I didn't do a very good job at it. It was a lot of songs I was very unfamiliar with, and like I said, I'm not a great sight reader. But I can think of hundreds of times when I didn't need to read music. It wasn't a skill that was needed. And I think if your aspirations are to be a hobbyist, so you're not looking to play jazz or classical in a professional setting. You're not looking to uh, teach music, those sorts of things. Um, Reading music is really not that important. If you're playing in a cover band or an original band, playing country or rock or blues or any of the popular forms of music, reading music is not something you'll probably ever need to know how to do. That being said, one thing that is helpful is if you know how to read chords. And if you see a chord symbol, you know what those chord symbols mean. If you see a C with a triangle beside it, you know um, you know, that means that it's an augmented chord, um, and you know what that sounds like, and that can help you choose better bass notes. But even if you don't know that, let's say you don't know the chord symbols, if you just learn to use your ears, if you see C and it sounds happy, it's got a major third in it rather than sad. Sounds happy. You know, there's two notes and it's not a diminished. Then you can use, if it's not a diminished, then you can use the fifth. You've got all those notes available to you, even without really knowing what you're looking at. So, I would say if you're going to spend your time working on reading, spend it learning how to read chord symbols and learn those chords on the bass. And the best way to do that is by practicing arpeggios. That's the best way to learn chords. And then when you see those things, you'll automatically have those things under your fingers. Um, it depends on how far you want to take things. Um, there's a guy here on YouTube who teaches bass lessons, and this guy's awesome. He's an awesome player, and he's a great teacher, and he has a YouTube channel called Talking Bass. And the way he teaches, that like if you think about arpeggios, he teaches rather than think of a pattern, think of the notes in the arpeggio. G, B, D, F sharp. So that would be a G major seventh arpeggio. And then just play all of those notes on the bass. And that is a great way to think about it. In fact, knowing the notes on the bass is super important. You know, Even as a non-reader, it's important to know all the notes on the bass. When somebody randomly hits a note there, you should know that that's E flat. One drill I used to do to my students was I would just pick notes on the bass and say, what note is that? That kind of gets your mind thinking about the notes on the bass. And if you're playing arpeggios, just think about that. about the notes instead of some pattern. Now, that being said, there are some patterns. There are some patterns that can help you play an arpeggio better, and those are good to practice. Um, and A lot of times, learning the patterns will help you see chord shapes. But it's if you're going to spend some, rather than spend your time working on, if you're like I said, if you're a hobbyist, spend your time learning the notes on the bass. Spend your time learning chord names. Spend your time practicing arpeggios. Spend your time practicing the scales that go with those arpeggios. Those things are the things that are probably going to help you a lot more than learning how to read music and spending a lot of time on that. Because you're probably never going to use that skill. I'm just being honest. Some people may disagree with me, but in my experience, you're not going to have a lot of call for reading music, but you may have a lot of call for reading chords, and you may have a lot of call for choosing the best bass notes that go with those chords. And scales and arpeggios are what's going to help you do that. So that's just one guy's opinion. I haven't been posting a lot of bass videos because I've been doing a lot of house renovation projects, and I'll probably post a couple more videos about that as we go, or as I go through them. But I hope that helps somebody. You have a good day.